hearts cry out loud.
Welcome in, everybody. Ready to dive deep? Today we're looking at Psalm 22. You might know the first line. It pops up everywhere, even in pop culture. But there's so much more to it.
Absolutely. This isn't just another psalm. This one's like a raw emotional monologue. It goes from despair to hope, personal anguish, to these big universal truths. Let's see what connects with you as we unpack it.
Yeah, and that opening line is intense. My God, why have you forsaken me? Wow. You know, it's almost uncomfortable how relatable that feeling is, even thousands of years later. What's happening in this moment of the psalm?
It's like this primal cry. This person feels totally abandoned, even by God. This isn't just sadness, it's existential. Like everything that gives life meaning is gone. And the speaker describes this suffering, mockery, enemies, this feeling of being right on the edge.
And the way they describe it is so vivid, like poured out like water, bones out of joint. It's painful just to hear.
Exactly, and that's what's so powerful about this psalm, both physical and emotional agony. It pulls you right into the experience. And then there's the imageries, bulls, lions, dogs, these powerful predatory animals. This isn't some abstract threat, it's visceral, like it puts you right there in the middle of it.
It's interesting, though, because even though it feels so personal and immediate, there's this something else there. Almost like remembering who they're actually talking to, even in the pain.
Yeah, you're right. It's subtle, but so important. From verse 9 on, there's this shift. The speaker starts to recall times when God was faithful. You brought me out of the womb. You have been my God. So it becomes a plea that's rooted in relationship, in history, not just the suffering.
So it's like holding on to hope, even when everything feels hopeless. You know, those times.
Exactly. It's that deep trust built over time that makes you hold on to hope, even when it feels like everything is falling apart. And it reminds us that even in our darkest moments, we're not starting from scratch, you know? We have those experiences, those memories of grace and faithfulness to draw strength from.
Yeah, like they're reminding themselves, reminding God of what they've been through together. And that leads into what comes next, which is, well, it's quite a turn, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. The whole tone shifts again. But this time, it's not just a glimmer of hope. It's almost like a victory speech. And it feels almost premature, you know, after everything they just said.
Right. It goes from pleading to almost triumphant. Like, wait, haven't you been listening to yourself for the last few verses?
And that's what makes this part so interesting. It's like the speaker's tapping into something beyond what's happening right now. It becomes prophetic with lines like, I will declare your name. In the assembly, I will praise you. It's this unshakable certainty that they've been heard, that deliverance is coming.
So they haven't actually been rescued yet, but they're already talking like it's a done deal. That's some serious faith. What's going on in this shift?
It's a powerful example of how faith isn't about denying pain or pretending everything's okay. It's about holding on to hope, even when you're suffering. And notice how it starts to expand outward. It's not just about this person's deliverance anymore. It becomes this universal call to worship.
You mean when it starts addressing all you descendants of Jacob, even talking about future generations? That always struck me as such a fascinating change in perspective.
Exactly. The final verses, they broaden the scope. It becomes about all nations, all future generations, praising God. It goes from this incredibly personal cry for help to this huge vision of hope that goes beyond time and place.
It's an incredible journey. But it makes you think, does everyone who reads this feel included in that? Everyone, does that universal hope really resonate across the board?
That's the big question, isn't it? And honestly, there's no easy answer. The psalm itself doesn't set any rules about who's in or out when it comes to this hope, this redemption, but it does point to something important: remembering, sharing what God has done, making it part of a bigger story.
So it's not just about one person's experience. It's about shared memory, about testimony. That's powerful.
Totally. The speaker promises to declare your name in the assembly. It's like finding hope in suffering. It also means remembering we aren't alone, you know, and not just alone now, but connected to all the people who have looked to God and found comfort.
I love that. Finding strength in a shared history of faith. Okay, so we've got the deeply personal, the historical connection, this universal call to praise. Anything else we should catch in these final verses? There's just so much here.
You're right. This psalm is packed. One thing that always gets me is how it connects suffering to this vision of everyone flourishing. The poor will eat and be satisfied, it says. All nations will bow down. It's this powerful image of restoration, of justice, coming right out of pain.
Wow, yeah. It's like suffering isn't the end of the story. It's like acknowledging the pain, really feeling it. That's what makes room for something bigger, something more hopeful to come out of it.
Exactly. Psalm 22 doesn't shy away from how raw suffering is. It acknowledges it, cries out against it. But it doesn't stop there. It goes through the darkness, through feeling totally abandoned, towards the possibility of being redeemed for the speaker and for the world.
That is a powerful message. It makes this whole journey through Psalm 22 so incredible. We've gone from the depths of despair to this huge vision of hope. It's deeply personal, yet it speaks to everyone. So what does it all mean for us today, thousands of years later? What do we do with it?
That's the beauty of it, right? It's timeless. It makes us look at our own lives and ask, what are my bulls and lions? Those challenges, those fears that make me want to cry out? And where do I find that trust, that deep faith when things are tough?
It makes you think. Maybe acknowledging our pain like the psalmist does is actually what connects us to that bigger hope, to that shared history of searching and finding. Definitely something to think about. This has been such a rich deep dive. Thank you so much for exploring this with me and with everyone listening. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.